Good Tuesday afternoon. I'm Maurice Patton. That's Wade Neely. We are Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, coming to you from the Lee Company studios of our respective homes on this Top 5 Tuesday. So thanks for joining us. We'll be with you here from 2 to 4 p.m. discussing sports topics of local, regional, and national interests. And we think it's going to be fun. Got some interesting stuff to get to right off the top here, and we will be doing that with our top story here in just a bit. But Wade, how's your Tuesday thus far?
Tuesday is ripping and running, brother, and not sure if it's more ripping or not sure if it's more running, but either way, good to be here with everybody on a Tuesday. Like you said, big show lined up for today. Top 5 Tuesday is always a kind of an early week treat. And, yeah, I think we're in store for a good one here to kind of ease us into hump day tomorrow.
Absolutely. In the second hour, we will be joined, as almost always on Tuesdays we are, by the Blue Raider voice, Chip Walters, getting us up to date on everything on campus, at least on mine and Wade's favorite campus, Middle Tennessee State. And in the next segment, we will be visiting with Eric Henry of Horns 24/7, kind of taking the temperature out in Austin. The softball team is waiting on either Florida or Oklahoma. And right now, Florida leading in a winner-take-all game for the other Women's College World Series Championship Series berth there. So check in with him on that. Also, the Longhorns getting bounced in week 1 of the Baseball College World Series. And as Wade and I discussed, there's a little party scheduled out in Austin later this month. I want to get Eric's take on that. So looking forward to visiting with him. It's always fun when we do get with him. We'll be talking little Braves as they get going again after an off day yesterday, talking a little Astros, big win at Minute Maid last night. And as we like to do from time to time, we'll be talking a little athletics because they seem to find a way to stay in the news. And this one's going to be interesting. So as Wade said, big show. We're looking forward to it. Our Top 5 Tuesday segment at the end of the show. Wade and I will be talking about our top athletes we wish we had seen. And it'll be interesting because I guarantee you some of the athletes Wade wishes he had seen, I saw. So but it'll be fun. I'm just going to go ahead and throw that out there
and
right
potentially not just related to time era. You could have been in a different place at a different time where I was not able to see. Maybe.
Yeah.
I'm not picking Mike Miner in high school, but I'm just saying you might have been privy to that. Some stuff I might not have been able to see. So
yeah. So
and vice versa.
Looking forward to that. So yeah, it's going to be a fun show. And we should get started. And again, the rundown, once school is out, looks a lot different. But we're going to give you yesterday's results and today's schedule on the rundown.
This is the Rundown.
I actually had managed to close my rundown tab, but now we are back, ladies and gentlemen. As Mo mentioned, brief results from last night, both favorable, I guess, for me in a sense, as the Astros did defeat the Cardinals 7-4. Weird game, fell behind early and kind of had to rally back. A lot of home runs hitting that game as they do indeed rally back. Bonus score, we've talked a little bit last week about the Giles County Little League All-Star Classic. Pulaski Citizen Live is broadcasting, video streaming all of those games this week. And the American League, Mo, with a big rally, comes back to win it 8-6 last night over the National League. That was game number 1, and that came after the skills competition, which was a lot of fun, including 3 young men in a dead heat for the Home Run Derby title. We had to go to a swing-off last night for the Home Run Derby title. All part of the fun. Again, more on that later, but you can catch all of the Giles County Little League All-Star Classic action on the Pulaski Citizen Live YouTube page this week.
There we go. Today's schedule, Major League Baseball, as we mentioned, the Braves are at Fenway Park taking on the Red Sox. That's a 6:10 first pitch. You can see it on Valley Sports South at 7:10. The Astros continue their series at Minute Maid Field against the visiting St. Louis Cardinals. Over at First Horizon Park, 6:35, the Nashville Sounds open their six-game series against the visiting Louisville Bats. In WNBA action this evening, 6 o'clock tip for the Washington Mystics at the Connecticut Sun. At 7, the New York Liberty is at the Chicago Sky. And at 9 tonight, get you a nap for Mercury and the Storm out in Seattle. Again, that's a 9 o'clock tip. You can see it on CBS Sports Network. All-Star action continues at Exchange Park in Pulaski as it's the American League and the National League in Game 2 of that Little League All-Star Classic. 5:45 start. Game 3 to follow if necessary, or is that a surety?
Surety, best of 7 series. So we're
Best of 7. Okay.
buckle up. We're just getting warmed up down here in P-Town this week.
Okay.
But sun is out, sun is shining right now. All that to say, weather permitting.
Check your local listings, take an umbrella. You can see all of it if you don't want to risk getting wet on Pulaski Citizen Live on their YouTube channel. So that is your rundown. Story brought to you, as always, by Piggly Wiggly over in Neely's Mill in Columbia. Be sure and check out their delicious daily deli lunch options. You can get them till 6 o'clock daily. Also, check out their hand-cut meats, and everything is cost plus 10% at the cash register. Piggly Wiggly, Neely's Mill, Columbia, bringing you our top story. And actually, we've got a couple of them. One we touched on yesterday a little bit. We have some closure on Tucupita Marcano, the current San Diego Padres infielder who is on the injured list with a torn ACL. Well, he won't be coming back from that. Marcano has been permanently banned from Major League Baseball for placing hundreds of bets on baseball, including wagers on the Pittsburgh Pirates when he was a member of the team last season. Now, he placed 387 baseball bets, 231 MLB related through a legal sports book in 22 and 23. Bet more than $150,000, including $87,000 and some change on MLB related bets. Placed 25 bets on Pirates games last season while he was on the team, all of which occurred after he suffered a season-ending knee injury in July of 2023. Now, it needs to be said, in my opinion, and friend of the show, John Parado, has an article on Pittsburgh Baseball Now. All of Marcano's bets on the Pirates were for the Pirates to win. And, maybe it's splitting hairs, maybe it's not. But, I mean, he bet on the team to win. So he wasn't, doing anything nefarious as far as taking some information that somebody wasn't available or somebody wasn't 100% or something like that and using it to bet against the Pirates. Now, I mean, every clubhouse in not just Major League Baseball, but in baseball spells out the rule regarding gambling. And as we talked about it yesterday, if you are a baseball player, you don't bet on baseball. Period. Does not matter what team or what your status is. If you are a baseball player, you don't bet on baseball. And there's no ignorance of that rule, one, is pretty unbelievable to think a such thing, and two, is not a defense. So there were 4 other players, minor leaguers, I think, who were suspended for a year for similar gambling, but not on their teams. But, the difference again being that Marcano was betting involving a team for which he played. First active player to receive a lifetime ban since 1924. Now,
Wow.
I'm sure a number of people remember the famous ban in 1989 of Pete Rose, but that was after his playing career had concluded and he was currently manager of the Reds at that time. So Marcano becomes the first active player in 100 years to be
Well,
banned at the age of 24.
I mean, he'll be the answer to a trivia question, at least, if nothing else, because that is not a good situation. And Mo, the real tragedy in all this is it also was pointed out that he only won 4% of all of his MLB related bets. So, I mean, in theory, you're thinking, all right, I got some inside info. I know the game. You only won 4% of your bets.
Yeah.
What is going on with that?
Yeah. It looks bad on a number of fronts for Tucapita. But
I hate to think about anybody getting banned anyway, but then now you're potentially getting banned, and now you could be down a ton of money from not winning on your gambling wagers there.
If you lost 95% of your bets, you've got to be down, don't you? And yeah, I don't know how you recoup that money because it won't be from a major league salary, apparently.
No, not coming back in that form. Man, yeah, we brought this story up yesterday, and it was crazy we mentioned it, and it felt like in the few hours after we brought it up and went off the air that it really started kind of exploding across a lot of national media. And then obviously today, as quickly and swiftly as MLB has moved, no repeat of the Ohtani situation here, in the sense where he gets off a little potential with a lighter slap on the wrist than maybe many would anticipate. Because, the ban hammer has been brought out for the first time. And what'd you say, since 1926?
1924.
24. Holy moly.
I did see a tweet, though. Somebody said, if only he had an interpreter.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. If you got the middleman, that was the whole thing yesterday about when you're betting on the legal sites, everything is tracked. So if you're not using somebody as kind of an intermediary, you're dead in the water. And that's an interesting thing too. And we've kind of joked and talked a little bit about also the NFL rules, and especially the Titans with Petit Frere. You do wonder the fact that Marcano is injured. That's a lot of downtime to be just sitting around a clubhouse. And, this kind of, whether the guys are doing it or not, there's a lot of chatter. Hey, my buddy did this, or, did you see this guy bet this? There's so many memes that get shared around. I mean, a lot of downtime when you're injured.
There is a lot of
surprised,
downtime.
that maybe he didn't, dabble a little bit. But yeah, he didn't cover his tracks well. Let's just put it that way.
Well, and to your point, and you are a lot more familiar with the the online betting sites and that kind of thing than I am. You can tell where the money is in Main Street sports today, but it's trackable, it's traceable. They know who placed the bets, and it kind of goes back to former NFL receiver Chris Carter. Get yourself a fall guy, right?
Come on. You gotta have.
Man. Come on, man.
You gotta have. Where's your buddy? Where's Cletus?
Yeah.
Everybody's got to have a Cletus, man. When the shoe falls, I mean, when the music stops, it's time for Cletus to take the fall for that one.
There's got to be somebody in your posse stepping up and saying, "Hey, man, it wasn't him; it was me." Because where the money is in this situation, and Marcano fumbled the bag, as they say, and he's not picking this one back up, unfortunately.
Not at the major league level, that's for sure.
No, I mean, he can play some Dominican winter ball or something like that, but the major league game is out of reach for him, and that's unfortunate. Again, 24 years old.
Mm.
You would like to think that his prime earning years were ahead of him. Guess not. Um, going across the water, going across the net. Novak Djokovic out of French Open with knee injury. The number one ranked tennis player in the world has withdrawn after tearing his meniscus in his round of 16 win, and will not play in his quarterfinal matchup tomorrow in the French Open at Roland Garros. Didn't expect to hear us talking tennis, did you?
Yeah, this kind of speaks to how big of an injury this is, though. The number one player in the
Right.
world. I mean, this is a wild story coming out of Roland Garros, especially because the match kind of was getting such acclaim yesterday. I didn't get a chance to watch any of the match when it was going down, but everybody was kind of chattering about, man, Djokovic just, this thing took, where did I see the official time a moment ago? This thing took, 4.5 hours because at some point he had to go in and take anti-inflammatory medication. He really gutted it out, but you can only gut it out
5
so
sets.
much. Yeah, I mean, truly battling. So he's out, and Casper Ruud, who has done really well in this tournament the last couple of years, he's been the runner-up. The wild thing is he already goes ahead and gets a berth into the semifinals. Now. So roll his way right into the semis, so a chance to rest up. I've got a little Roland Garros on here. Tsitsipas and Alcaraz are playing right now, Mo. I know everybody is thrilled to hear what the latest is going on, but that's a good match. Number 3 and number 9 in the world. But no Djokovic. Number 1 is out.
No number 1. That's it. So, yeah, that's tough. And, depending on how he chooses to attack this injury situation, if he has surgery, he's probably going to miss Wimbledon.
Yep.
And he's probably going to miss the Olympics.
Yeah,
and I don't know if he can gut it out through those without the surgery. So.
Yeah, I mean, that's the question, right? Is do you risk further injury and really maybe cutting your career, which is already on the downslope at 37 years old, even shorter? By trying to play in an event like Wimbledon or the Olympics, or do you just go ahead and rest up and try and come back for 2025?
Right. And 2024 again, you've got the Olympics in the mix, and so that's a tough hit to take this close to that, I would imagine. So it's unfortunate for him and for tennis fans wanting to see the number 1 ranked player in the world going at it this summer. So
yeah, he's cool with the Wimbledon, maybe missing that. He's won 7 of them, but the Olympics, you're right. That's something that
I mean, if you're if you're a world-class athlete, the Olympics are what you aim for.
Yeah,
every 4 years. And
100%.
The possibility of missing one, because of an injury is, it's just terribly unfortunate. And I was trying to find some of Djokovic's bona fides. I mean, he's up there among the greats, obviously.
20
plus Grand Slam victories,
Mm-hmm.
I think, different stuff like that. I mean, when you are listing off the greatest tennis players on the men's side, he's not far down the list. So,
nope, and he's right there in the mix. And while we real quick, while we're mentioning tennis, just got a quick shout out. Coco Gauff comes back from a set down to win yesterday. So she's now in the semi. She's taking on the number 1 player in the world on one side of the bracket. She's the lone remaining American player. So Team Coco trying to hold it down at the French Open this weekend.
USA. That's awesome. Let's go ahead and go to a break here on Main Street Sports today. When we come back, we hope to be joined by Eric Henry of horns247.com talking a little, well, I won't make the gesture, but talking a little horns. So stay tuned when we return to the Lee Company studio after this.
Bluegrass Auction Associates is hosting another real estate auction Saturday, June 8th at 10 a.m. in the beautiful Hickory Woods subdivision. This spacious estate offers numerous amenities, perfect for the homeowner or investor. Conveniently located in Davidson County, Tennessee at 221 Wild Grove Court. This is the sale you don't want to miss. Join Bluegrass and bid with confidence. Saturday, June 8th at 10 a.m.
Nashville Sounds Baseball is back in Hit City for the 2024 season. Spend your nights and weekends at the ballpark with weekly giveaways, fireworks shows, throwback deals, live music, and more. Top talent will take the field at First Horizon Park against the AAA Minnesota Twins, Baltimore Orioles, Atlanta Braves, St. Louis Cardinals, Cincinnati Reds, and more. Tickets start at just $10 and are available now at NashvilleSounds.com. We will see you in Hit City.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50 plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today. Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Top 5 Tuesday continues here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton. That's Wade Neely. At the final segment of our show, we'll be giving you our top 5 athletes we wish we'd seen. Stay tuned for that. Right now, we're going to see Eric C. Henry _. That underscore is very important, as I found out about 10 minutes ago. But Eric Henry of horns247.com joining us here. Eric, you said that you were not in Oklahoma City, but you were in Austin eating mediocre barbecue. Life is too short for mediocre barbecue, my friend.
What's going on, fellas? Happy to be on with y'all again, Mo. Here's the thing, and listen. take it with a grain of salt, right? Because you're talking about someone who is a native of Tampa, Florida, and spent the past 7 years working in Miami, Florida, right? Not necessarily known for its barbecue, but I
Not
will
barbecue
say,
hotbeds. Yeah.
I will say this. I will say this. And you guys have room to opine on this. Since I've been in Austin over the past year, Texas barbecue hasn't grown on me. Certainly when I was covering Conference USA, had my fair share of barbecue in the regions there, Charlotte, the borough. Actually, I didn't have any barbecue in the borough. Nashville's bad.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I will say this, and I will leave it to you guys, pass back to you guys on this. Kansas City barbecue is what has won me over. Now, if I'm doing something wrong, feel free to let me know. But all I can say is Texas barbecue's been mediocre. Kansas City barbecue's been the first real barbecue that has truly won me over.
I'm going to go out on a limb because, I've not had barbecue in Texas. I've not spent enough time there, but there are people out there that swear by it. My thing is I'm basically a pork barbecue guy, and I know that Texas barbecue is typically beef barbecue.
Correct.
And so that may be where something's getting lost in the translation for you. But if anybody with Texas ties has any tips for Eric in the Austin area, let's get this guy hooked up, because again, life's too short for mediocre barbecue.
Yeah, we got to resolve that if at all possible.
With all due haste. Absolutely. Eric, you're not in Oklahoma City, and that's unfortunate because the Longhorns are sitting waiting on either Florida or Oklahoma, and right now it's looking like Florida. They're up 5-2 in the bottom of the fourth. I'm not sure how much more than that I can say without the express written consent of anybody. But what are the feelings about the number 1 seed Longhorn softball team this week?
Yeah, Mo, as you noted again, I'm not in Oklahoma City. Our primary baseball and softball writer is in OKC. But if you ask the folks here in Austin, and maybe this is a byproduct of just coming off of the success of Steve Sarkisian's Texas Longhorns on the gridiron, and the success of Vic Schaefer's women's team and some of the other non-revenue sports, the folks here believe that this is Texas's year, and I think it's with good reason. You take a look. During the year, this team, I think if there's one moment I'd point to during the season that really gave fans belief that, hey, we can do this, they won 2 out of 3 against number 1 Oklahoma in Big 12 play in, believe it was February or March, if memory serves me correct. And that was really the moment. That was the moment that Texas softball head coach Mike White stood on, as the kids say, stood on business and said, hey, he made an appeal to athletic director Chris Del Conte and said, hey, we just beat the number 1 team in the nation 2 out of 3 times. We're going to the SEC. I want new facilities. I think we've earned it. I think this quite frankly, softball is well behind some of the other facilities on campus. And quite frankly, he's right. I mean, he's not wrong in any respect there. But yeah, that was the moment, I think, in which fans started to believe. And then you take into account the way they were resilient in the regional series against Texas A&M. A 16 seed Texas A&M that a lot of people make the argument was kind of underseeded. But of course, you know how it is in baseball and softball. You kind of group those teams regionally, right? Coming from College Station, it's a short ride over to Austin. They battled back twice to win that series. And yeah, the folks here, certainly in on the 40 acres, these neck of the woods, believe that Texas is going to go all the way.
Having beaten Oklahoma 2 out of 3 would certainly give you reason to feel that way. So definitely something for the other Southeastern Conference teams to be looking forward to, getting at least 1 national finalist headed this way, and possibly 2, depending on how this thing goes over the next few innings here between Florida and Oklahoma. All 3 of your last 3 teams, by the way, in the Southeastern Conference. Eric, you mentioned the baseball team getting bounced in the region. What's the mood around that?
That one's certainly a little bit different. I actually I pinch hit for our main baseball writer the Saturday game in which they pushed Texas A&M to the brink. I mean, that was a game, for those who may not know, it was the College Station Regional. So that was, in essence, a home game for Texas A&M. It was about 10,000 people at Bluebell Park. I'd say 9,500 of them were Aggie fans. Here's the thing. I mean, they had a preseason Big 12 Pitcher of the Year, LeBaron Johnson Jr., they being Texas going for him. And LBJ's had an up and down year. I mean, he was a guy, again, came to the year with really high expectations, finished the year 4-5 on the mound. His last start prior to the Texas A&M game, he got shelled, only went an inning and 2/3. LBJ gives them 5 innings of solid work, only gives up 1 run. But the Longhorns, were unable to close. Jalen Flores at shortstop had 2 throwing errors that really cost them, the real opportunity to continue to stay in that winner's bracket. And the thing was, that game ended. It went extra innings. They lost in 11. That game ended around 12:01 Central Time. They had to turn back around and play 2 p.m. Central the next day. Ooh. I asked head coach David Pierce, hey, how do you get the guys going? Only 14 hours in between. He said, hey, if you don't, our season's done. And the guys were open that when they lost to Louisiana, got smoked, they didn't have any juice. They didn't get to bed till 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. You turn back around, get to the ballpark 10 and 11. So to your question, Mo, what's the feeling? There are a lot of people who are like, hey, we're going from the Big 12 to the SEC. We know what SEC baseball is about. David Pierce made the decision to get rid of his pitching coach, Woody Williams, former MLB vet Woody Williams, and take over the pitching himself this year. That did not work out. It's going to be a interesting next 7 to 10 days to see if Chris Del Conte decides to make a move, because I think it's split right down the middle, 50-50, as to fans who think he should get a season in the SEC versus fans who think, let's do a fresh start now. And the name that a lot of people want is Troy Tulowitzki. But, again, that maybe, yeah, Mo, I mean, I think that has more to do with the fact that he's a Longhorn and he did spend some time as a special assistant prior. But, I mean, come on, a first-time head coach in the SEC, that seems like a bit of a stretch.
That doesn't seem like where you want to be taking off your training wheels for sure.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
but yeah, I was kind of heading toward that Pierce situation because kind of saw some rumblings on social media, and I guess it was brought up following their elimination game loss. Do you expect to be back?
Yeah.
That kind of thing. And coming off of a berth in the regionals, I mean, it's not like Texas was awful, but the standards there are a little different. And again, as you say, with them heading to the Southeastern Conference, where they've got 5 teams playing in the Supers this weekend, and the expectations are what they are. So,
yeah, I mean, I'll kind of try to give you a little bit of expedited answer here on David Pierce. The thing is, Mo, is I think that to your point, the standards are so high, but also just here in the standards in the SEC, but also here at Texas, baseball's a huge, listen, I would make the argument that behind football, baseball is the number 2 sport as far as people, when this thing is going, how much they are invested in. And you couple David Pierce getting rid of Woody Williams, couple the fact that they had some ugly losses, just things felt a little up and down this year. I think David Pierce had a solid year. I mean, you take a look on paper, it wasn't like they didn't, make a tournament or anything like that. But if you ask people around the program day in, day out, I think they'd make the argument that this year was a bit of an underachievement.
And kind of getting some tea leaves from a few of my Longhorn fans, Eric, it seems like the fan base is trending more toward that. Hey, if you're going to go out and make a change coming into a new conference, it better be a really rock solid kind of slam dunk type hire. You said Troy Tulowitzki earlier. I see the appeal potentially, but it really didn't just, light my fire immediately. It could be a super, pardon the pun, but I mean, it's a swing or a miss, type situation. It feels like there.
Yeah. Well, listen, it's split. I'm just using what I've seen on our Horns 24/7 message board. Just 2 names. Troy Tulowitzki, and then Jim. I always mispronounce his last name. I think it's Schlossnagel, but from Texas A&M. Now, you getting him to come up the road from College Station, considering what he's built down there, that's a stretch. It wouldn't be out of the history. You take a look at Chris Beard. You got him to come from Texas Tech to Texas. Obviously, we know that didn't end well, but
not sure that's the one you want to point to. But yeah,
at the time, it seemed like a good move.
I'm just giving the analogy of getting someone to come from in-state who seemingly has built something at their prior stop, Bo. To your point, yeah, the Chris Beard thing didn't end well, even though at SEC meetings, he and Chris Del Conte were chummy. So clearly, They're fine. But
Right.
to your question, Wade, yeah, it's really two names that I've seen on the message board as far as that fans are really pushing for. Quite frankly, I don't know if any of those are really feasible. Again, Tulowitzki be a first-time hire and getting coached from Texas A&M. Again, he's built something pretty special down there in College Station.
After building something pretty special at TCU.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Eric, real quick, we can never really go a segment without talking college football in some capacity. And I mean, you got the hoodie on too. What's the chatter coming out of Longhorns spring ball, and kind of where do they sit as they get ready to head into their first year in SEC play in your mind?
Nothing like a free media gift and a hoodie. Probably the best media gift I've gotten for covering a bowl game. Nevertheless, yeah, now we're on my primary beat. The feeling coming out of spring ball. Listen, I've made this statement and I will make it again here. The expectation is to win the SEC. And why would I buy into the expectation? Because quite frankly, there isn't a game on this schedule this year that Texas doesn't walk into the stadium with the best quarterback on the field. And that includes playing Georgia and Carson Beck. Quinn Ewers, in my mind, is the best quarterback, not the best quarterback in the nation, but I think he's a top 5 quarterback entering year 3 into Steve Sarkisian, and he's the best quarterback in the schedule he'll face. That's step 1. Step 2, take a look at their SEC schedule. They don't get Tennessee. They don't get Alabama. They don't get LSU. They don't get Missouri. Those are, Ole Miss. They don't get Ole Miss. Those are 5 teams that were all ranked last year. I think 4 of those 5 won double-digit games. Who do they get? Vandy, Arkansas, Mississippi State. Billy Napier may not even be employed by the time that game rolls around in Florida.
Yeah.
Texas A&M. So, yeah, that's why the expectations are pretty high here in Austin.
Hey, by the way, you mentioned Texas A&M. I believe it Paul Feinbaum that has gone out and said that he thinks Texas A&M is going to finish ahead of Texas. Am my ears hearing that correctly? Because it seems you laid out a really compelling argument that will not happen.
I didn't get a chance to hear. All I've seen was the text, but I thought it was a guest who was on Feinbaum. I could be wrong. But
okay.
I thought it was a guest.
I was in the same boat. I don't know the full context, but you see the headline and it kind of just jumped out at me there.
Yeah.
Interesting. And they get the non-conference game at Michigan. I'm a Wolverines guy. I feel like Texas is probably going to be the favorite going into that game with kind of so much uncertainty around the Wolverines right now.
Yeah. I mean, again, you look at it, and here's the thing. When you look at this team last year, and granted, yes, they lost, 10, 11 guys to the NFL, but the amount of guys they bring back were really shaped by getting everyone's best punch in the Big 12. Steve Sarkisian was open about it. He said, look, last year, we were every team in the Big 12 Super Bowl because they wanted to try to be the one to knock us off as we're leaving for the SEC. They go into Bryant-Denny Stadium. They get the confidence of getting that win. The things they have to clean up are, quite frankly, in red zone, in goal line, and short yardage situations. Texas over the past 2 years has been bad. That hurt them against Oklahoma. That cost them a game. You could make the argument that a couple short yard situations cost them, really taking control of that game early against Washington. But no, in my mind, I mean, especially you talk about going to Michigan, they have the confidence in knowing that they can win in a hostile environment. They get Georgia at home. So take for what it's worth.
Eric Henry of horns247.com joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Eric, you mentioned Quinn Ewers, quite possibly the best quarterback in the Southeastern Conference as they walk in the door. Arch Manning obviously is there. What was the feeling? What is the feeling about losing Malik Murphy? Because we talked about him last summer and last preseason, and you loved him. And in the time that what I saw of him, there's plenty to love. Obviously, they feel good about their quarterback situation, but how tough is it to lose a guy like that?
That was one of the more unique storylines last year. Everyone knows, especially if your quarterback is struggling, the backup quarterback is the most popular player on the team and the program amongst the fan base, et cetera, right? Quinn wasn't struggling last year, but if there's one knock on Quinn, it's that his deep ball has not been great, right? And I would say in Quinn's defense, I don't think he had great deep ball receivers. A.D. Mitchell was probably the best guy of the group, but Xavier Worthy, for all the speed in the world, he's a slight guy, he's a small guy, he's not going to win those 50-50 balls. When Malik Murphy came in and took over for Quinn, with Quinn being knocked out with the AC joint injury in the Houston game, there was this feeling like, okay, now we're going to get a chance to possibly see, the offense reach its full potential. Malik did do some of those things. Quite frankly, he probably had a better connection with AD Mitchell than maybe Quinn did. But the offensive efficiency really suffered, right? Malik's got his fastball, but getting the ball out of his hands quickly into the hands of the playmakers, not necessarily his strength at that time. We'll see what happens with him and Duke. The reason I said it was unique is that Malik was such a well-liked guy. I mean, when he played, guys, his teammates all came in and said, man, we just want to do well for Malik. He's such a good dude. How often do you have, a sophomore be in control of the aux cord, the music in the locker room? They're like, listen, Malik Murphy controls, the locker room music. Like we love him that much. But I think to put it to you, here's the best way I can put it. Not that there was a lack of appreciation for Quinn, but I think the team, and quite frankly, those in Austin who may have wanted Malik to really get a shot, there was a stronger appreciation for Quinn Ewers once he returned because of just how smoothly he operates that offense. So Malik, really interested to see what he does at Duke. I mean, an immensely talented guy, but I think, and maybe it's because you have Arch Manning as the heir apparent to Quinn whenever he does leave. Fans more or less are comfortable with Quinn Ewers and are they're grateful that Malik kept the train on the tracks last year, but they've kind of moved on from the Malik Murphy, we want to see what's their train.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Eric, Wade and I were talking, I guess, late last week. Tell us about this big shindig at the end of the month.
Well, what's the saying, right? Everything's bigger in Texas. Well, yeah, they the Texas Athletics, they've decided that they are going to throw a party to welcome the Longhorns to the SEC later this month. And what's intrigued me, guys, the thing that has me on the edge of my seats, I wish I had the verbiage right in front of me, but I'll try to quote it verbatim, is that there is a worldwide music superstar, to be announced music superstar, who will be performing on the 40 acres. I've kind of jokingly said it's Pitbull because I feel like— I
was just about to say Mr. Worldwide. Why not?
I felt like, A, you got Mr. Worldwide. B, that just feels like the kind of— Pitbull's the kind of artist that, like, you just stick him in wherever your crowd is and, they will assimilate and it works, right? Like, because if not Pitbull, I kind of threw out a Darius Rucker. Some people have jokingly said, like George Strait. I feel like that would be a home run with the Texas audience. But I mean, you probably have to come with a little bit of pocket change for that. But you probably got to get a little pocket change for Pitbull. But Mo, to your question, yeah, I mean, listen, fans have been excited on the edge of their seats about this SEC thing since it was announced, and especially was announced that Texas would be heading a year early, because remember, it's supposed to be 2025 when the Longhorns and Sooners would be heading to the SEC. Any little thing, whether it's been the Longhorns still using the Big 12 logo on the backdrop, it's like, when are they going to get that down? When is it going to be the SEC logos on that or the field? So fans here are really hyped up. We'll see what happens. All I'm saying is this: it's late June in Austin. It's going to be 2,000 degrees, and they're running this thing all day. So I just hope people hydrate accordingly and choose water from time to time,
or at least mix in a water, right?
Yeah,
or at least mix in a water, or I'll tell on myself here. Listen, I'm 11 days from turning 33. As soon as I hit 30, I realize if I'm going to drink an adult beverage, there better be a Pedialyte nearby afterwards. So find a way to mix in some hydration. But now it should be a good time. We'll see who that worldwide music artist is.
Water is your friend. It really is. Eric C. Henry _ is where you can find him on Twitter. And if you are interested in Texas athletics, you need to find him. Eric, we appreciate you spending some time with us here on Main Street Sports today, and look forward to maybe we will run into you at a certain media day here in a few weeks.
Oh, listen, I will definitely be there SEC Media Days, and I always appreciate y'all having me on. And hey, maybe we'll do this thing in person once the Horns come to Vandy next year.
Absolutely. Hey, and hopefully we can find you some barbecue between now and then.
That would be greatly appreciated. We will be on the lookout. We're here for you, man. We appreciate it. We'll talk to you soon. Anytime, fellas. Y'all take care.
Thank you, Eric.
Hey, when we come back to the Lee Company Studios on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, talk a little Braves, talk a little Major League Baseball. Stay tuned after this break.
Wild horses are coming to Franklin. The Mustang Heritage Spectacular. 4 days of celebrity freestyle, liberty training, trick riding, and extreme Mustang makeover. Plus the shopping. Over 100 vendor spaces with clothing, food, home goods, and things you can't find anywhere else. All that and celebrity signings at a music stage too. June 20th through 23rd at Williamson County Ag Expo Park. Don't miss a moment with a weekend pass. MustangHeritageFoundation.org for tickets.
Hello, race fans, and welcome to Nashville Super Speedway.
That's right, guitars and fast cars right here in Music City. This summer, NASCAR is back at the Nashville Super Speedway. Get your tickets now to watch your favorite driver take on the 1.33 miles of concrete chaos. Visit NashvilleSuperspeedway.com to lock in your spot June 28th through the 30th for the Ally 400 race weekend.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Nashville Sounds Baseball is back in Hit City for the 2024 season. Spend your nights and weekends at the ballpark with weekly giveaways, fireworks shows, throwback deals, live music, and more. Top talent will take the field at First Horizon Park against the AAA Minnesota Twins, Baltimore Orioles, Atlanta Braves, St. Louis Cardinals, Cincinnati Reds, and more. Tickets start at just $10 and are available now at NashvilleSounds.com. We will see you in Hit City.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
We thrive under the lights. A city of performers. Putting on one heck of a show. Headlining night after night. Welcome to Smashville.
June 4th, 1991, Dale Murphy Appreciation Night was observed at Atlanta Fulton County Stadium as the two-time NL MVP was returning for the first time since being traded to Philadelphia the previous August. Murphy went 0 for 4 before leaving the game as part of a double switch. His replacement, reliever Wally Ritchie, hit Otis Nixon with a pitch in the eighth, sparking a brawl in which both were ejected. The Braves won 9-5 as Murphy's successor, Dave Justice, went 2 for 3 and scored 3 runs. That was this day in Braves history. The backup TDIBH was a year before Dale Murphy Appreciation Day. The Braves drafted Larry Jones Jr. out of Orlando, Florida, with the number 1 pick in the draft. You probably know Larry Wayne Jones Jr. better as Chipper.
Hey, speaking of that's a quality backup. But I saw this that came across the timeline. Today is also, what would that be? For the 40-year anniversary of the most infamous baseball promotion, perhaps of all time. Mo, tonight is the 40-year anniversary of 10-cent beer night from way back in the day. At the Indians and the Rangers at Cleveland Stadium.
Oh, at Cleveland Stadium. Okay. Yeah.
I think that was Disco Demolition Night. That was at the at Comiskey. But 10 cents, which equates to 62 cents in today's pricing, which is still pretty solid deal.
Yeah.
And so I saw that come across the crawl today too. So we've got,
and there was some type giveaway in connection with that too, right? I mean, because wasn't that how a bunch of stuff wound up getting thrown on the field or something?
Well, I do know, just reading through the wiki, that these teams did not like each other, which was probably should have maybe scrapped the
maybe
promo at that point. They had a bench clearing brawl just 6 days before. The crowd was therefore rowdy and belligerent, as Wikipedia says. Yeah, as the game proceeded, on-field incidents occurred. Lit firecrackers. We had streakers. Openly smoked marijuana, according to Wikipedia.
Anytime a regular season game has its own wiki, that might ought to tell you a little something.
Man, and
and that's not 40 years, Wade. Your Giles
50.
County math giving you away. Yeah, that was 50 years ago today.
Well, feels like it was only 40, I guess.
There you go.
Disco Demolition Night was the one that was in Comiskey that ended in the riot, and that was on July 12th, 79. So we'll have to remember July 12th.
Yeah.
So the 70s were a wild time. That's really, I guess, kind of all that really needs to be said. But 50 years ago tonight, I saw that come across the crawl earlier today.
Here's your giveaway right here in this wiki wrap up. Most sober fans departed early, leaving an increasingly drunk and unruly mob behind.
Yeah, think about that. All the people of sound body and mind, they've already gone.
You know what?
And
I'm
the people that are left, they're like, whatever, we don't care. Man, 10-cent beer night, 63 cents in today's economy. So that's still pretty solid.
Yeah, you would take that.
Wow. That was a way to steer clear. Although the Astros did get a win last night. Braves were off last night, but the Astros did sneak out a dub versus the Redbirds last night, which was nice.
A Briggy bomb in the 8th last night, right?
Went yard. I mentioned it in the rundown. This was a weird game in the sense that Houston looked like they were on a fast track to getting clobbered, as St. Louis hit a couple dingers early. And then, Bregman comes up with one, and Houston ends up pulling off the win. And kind of, I don't know, maybe as we're kind of running out of ways to, maybe potentially galvanize them, but maybe an old school rivalry, none of these kids or none of these players, except for maybe Verlander, really got much of a memory of that rivalry, but maybe something to kind of light a little fire under them after last night's win.
Any port in a storm, as they say. And there's an article on The Athletic by Chandler Rome, who covers the Astros for The Athletic. Astros GM Dana Brown doubles down. I don't see any scenario where we're sellers. 7 games under 500. 8 games back in the wild card? But Dana Brown says there's a chance.
And the only thing I could maybe think too, without knowing all the contracts and such off the top of my head, is you may not be in a situation to really, really make a run at it this year, but maybe you're still thinking, hey, we're set up pretty nicely for next year too, and so we're not going to go ahead and throw a lot away, just in the sense of trying to build for further down the road. So I don't know. I can maybe see that. It certainly would be nice, obviously, if the question was even removed. entirely by winning some more ball games, and they got the 7-4 win last night, and they'll get ready to run it back tonight versus St. Louis again.
I've seen teams blow leads from 5 games up to 7 games up in September. In Atlanta, when we won the World Series, we didn't get to 500 until game 100. I don't foresee us being sellers at all. We're going to grind it out. I think we're going to get back to 500 before people know it, and we'll be back in the race. Hope springs eternal for Dana Brown. I hope he's right, because it will make things a lot more positive here on Main Street Sports Today. When Wade's happy, everybody's happy. So, yeah,
it'd be nice, and it would make the segment a lot easier, if nothing else.
It really would.
I'm not great at pretending, so it'd be nice to not have to pretend later in the year. That's for sure.
Never a dull moment with the Athletics. There's an article on CBSSports.com. The Oakland A's request to play almost 10% of home games away from brand new Las Vegas Stadium, per report. They're not even in Vegas yet. We don't even know when they're going to be in Vegas. The Athletics have not yet moved to Las Vegas or even to Sacramento, their temporary home for at least the next 3 seasons. Yet they already have their eyes on playing games in other markets. According to the non-relocation agreement, the Athletics are requesting to play up to 8 home games a season away from the team's future $1.5 billion Las Vegas ballpark. 81 home games. You're going to take 8 of them out of the mix. Claims the team wants to play neutral site home games in order to build the franchise's brand and to attract players and sponsors. It's unclear where precisely the A's intend to play those games, be it domestically or internationally. Goodness gracious.
I mean, I sort of get the idea, Vegas is its own entity, and you're thinking maybe not much of a built-in fan base, kind of like we see sometimes with the Raiders. The Raiders are lucky in the sense that they had a pretty ravenous fan base that kind of carried over, but the last thing you really want is just a full stadium of non-A's fans, so I sort of maybe get that, but yeah, like you said, you're talking 10% of your home schedule. I don't know. Just that's it. They find a way to stay in the news, which and it's never for good reasons.
I think it kind of goes back to the idea that maybe this isn't a good idea. Period. I mean, if you are already trying to figure out ways to not play home games in your home city, maybe it shouldn't be your home city.
Yeah, and I mean, a couple months ago, there's quotes from the mayor, that are kind of
the mayor
great.
Saying maybe y'all should figure out how to stay in Oakland.
I mean, yeah, just doesn't seem like it. Almost feels like MLB just was like, "Hey, we should move to Vegas," and then the A's, and then even Las Vegas as a city were like, "I don't know about this," but MLB
here's the
is kind of
thing,
just
though.
forcing it.
I mean, John Fisher has created such a situation in Oakland that, you ain't got to go home, but you can't stay here kind of thing, it feels like. But, I don't know. If not Vegas, where? The Sacramento A's permanently? And what if they just got to Sacramento and just got stuck there?
We didn't plan to, it feels like a movie script, right? We didn't plan to be here, but here we are.
But here we are. Yeah.
Maybe it'd be kind of nice, I suppose. Got the Kings there already. They've been known to support whatever team they do have. So
I have actually been to the stadium. I think it's Rayleigh Field. It may not be Rayleigh Field any longer, but that's what it was when I was there in West Sacramento. And it was a nice minor league facility. Emphasis on minor league facility. I don't know how it's going to work for Major League Baseball for 3 years or more. So, but again, never a dull moment with the Athletics. Fill in the blank on what town. That's going to do it for hour number 1 of Main Street Sports Today, here presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we come back for hour number 2, we will be joined by the Blue Raider voice, Chip Walters. getting us up to date on all things MTSU. Stay with us when we return to the Lee Company studios after this break.
We thrive under the lights. A city of performers. Putting on one heck of a show. Headlining night after night. Welcome to Smashville.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50 plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Nashville Sounds Baseball is back in Hit City for the 2024 season. Spend your nights and weekends at the ballpark with weekly giveaways, fireworks shows, throwback deals, live music, and more. Top talent will take the field at First Horizon Park against the AAA Minnesota Twins, Baltimore Orioles, Atlanta Braves, St. Louis Cardinals, Cincinnati Reds, and more. Tickets start at just $10 and are available now at NashvilleSounds.com. We will see you in Hit City.
Hour number 2 of Top 5 Tuesday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, starts right now. I'm Maurice Patton. That's Wade Neely, and we are now joined by the Blue Raider voice, Chip Walters, the pride of the dimple, joining us as he does virtually every Tuesday.
Unless
Chip,
I don't.
Unless you don't, exactly. What's happening?
Oh, just, the last couple of days, it's actually felt like summertime. I mean, it's been hot. We've had a monsoon here, and then the sun popped out. So it's about 118% humidity and about 90 degrees. So you know what that's like. So
Good time to be inside.
That's right. Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, man, you guys were a little busy last week with the Blue Raider Blitz.
Were, and had 5 stops. Happy to report that we had full house at every stop. First night in Murfreesboro, kicked it off down at Happy's Sports Lounge, right off the square. Nice spot, and had a big crowd there. Then the Wednesday we had Tullahoma and Shelbyville, and those were full. The Ascend Federal Credit Union hosted us in Tullahoma, Riverbend Country Club in Shelbyville, and then on the final day, Smyrna Event Center for lunch, and then Tailgate Brewery headquarters out off Charlotte Pike in Nashville. Really good spot there, and had a big crowd with our panel discussion with Chris Massaro and Coach Mason. Coach Mason was at all 5 stops. Coach Insel was in Murfreesboro and Shelbyville, and Coach McDevitt was he spoke in Murfreesboro, Shelbyville, and Nashville, and many other coaches were at one or more of the events. So it was a really good week and a lot of excitement. And it was I think the smiles in all those stops was nice to see. And I'll say this is really our first opportunity to go out with Coach Mason with fans and things like that. And at every stop, we would get through with our program, and normally I'm 20, 30 minutes later getting out of there, wrapping things up, whatever it might be. And he was staying till the last person had a chance to talk that wanted to talk or get a picture or have something signed. And it was a lot of one-on-one time after those events, and everybody was, real tickled to see the excitement level and all that. So it was really a good week.
I was going to ask you, did Rick have to ice after all the hands that he shook and all the autographs he signed over in Shelbyville?
No, it was his on his turf, but he a lot of friends, a lot of familiar faces that are there. And he was Coach Insel, obviously very gracious, but he really he was the cleanup hitter in Shelbyville. The other 4 stops, Coach Mason kind of went last, but Coach Mason went first in Shelbyville. Coach McDevitt was typically in the middle somewhere, but Coach Insel did a great job. There were some great. One of the really fun parts about going to these things is there's some stories that we really can't repeat that get told in those private settings that are, some of them are pretty priceless.
Rick Insel batting cleanup in Shelbyville is pretty much a read the room type situation right there. I mean, you kind of want him to close things out right there.
Exactly.
So, yeah,
yep.
Absolutely. But your comments regarding Coach Mason, from having been around him a little bit during his time at Vanderbilt, I just feel like that's what you're going to get out of him. And I think that's part of the package. And I think that's what you hired him for, to be honest.
I think he's been coached up well of to certain things that I think certain fans probably felt where there were some shortcomings, and he has tried to meet those opportunities. And it all started, as I mentioned when I introduced him at these events, that it all started number one on the day he got the job, and number two that weekend when he was in the Murfreesboro Christmas parade. And so he kind of set the tone for himself there and has been going wide open ever since. But that kind of personal touch is appreciated.
Mm-hmm.
I was just going to wonder, Chip, we spoke to him even a couple months after he'd been on campus at the state tournament, and he was fired up then. But obviously spring ball is, in the mix, and you're still got that, new hires, that new car smell, so to speak. Is he still running 100 miles an hour in terms of enthusiasm and intensity right now with the program?
At least he was last week. And,
Okay.
and then this past Sunday, 2 days ago, he got an all new reason to get refired up. And that was the first wave of players returned and reported in for summer school, which the first summer session you had Maymester that was in May, but the first summer session started on on Monday, and then there'll be another session in July before there's a couple of weeks off. But a big group of those players came in. Same for men's and women's basketball both. All of their players were supposed to be back in, and the good news that I made a couple of phone calls on Monday that all of those who were expected to be here were here. So that in this day and age, that's kind of all you can ask.
Yeah.
It's funny how much of a plus that is. I guess.
Well, and because we've seen, fortunately not here too bad, but other places where folks have gotten a little flighty and said they're going to do one thing and turned her out and did something else. And I checked in with Coach McDevitt and I said, "All your guys here?" And he texted me. He goes, "All except for Isam Mustafa, who is working out with the Egyptian national team this month." And so he has a valid
that seems like a reasonable excuse.
Yeah, he's got a good hall pass. So
yeah. Chip Walters, the voice of the Blue Raiders, joining us here on Main Street Sports today. Speaking of football, we had some news come out. Well, I guess it was yesterday, since today is Tuesday. But 4 Blue Raiders on the College Football Hall of Fame ballot for the 2025 induction class, and we have varying degrees of familiarity with all 4 of those. Coach Bubba Murphy, Don Griffin, Joe Campbell, and Steve McAdoo.
Yeah, I mean, you take those 3 guys right there, and if you wanted to start a football team, you're pretty good on the back end defensively with Don Griffin, who's got a couple of Super Bowl rings with the 49ers. Joe Campbell, he is, however you want to make the argument, he is, if you had that one hand of running backs, he's going to be on that one hand of guys. And Steve McAdoo is also, talk about one hand, when you talk about the best offensive lineman to ever play at middle, he is going to be in that very, very short conversation. He, Absolutely. Roger Carroll, a few other guys since the 1A era began. But I think about those 2 who were All-Americans for Coach Donnelly back in the day. And, of course, Coach Murphy is one of only 2 people who was a player, head coach, and athletic director at MTSU. The other is James Francis Donnelly, but Coach Murphy would really love for him and his family to get the recognition, because sometimes time takes away from your legacy a little bit. Sometimes things get a little cloudy over time, but what they accomplished from the mid 40s through the end of the 60s when Coach Murphy was head coach was quite remarkable.
The man's got a building name for him.
Yeah, he does.
That says something. Speaking of football,
yeah, it continues.
Conference, yes, it does continue. It never stops. Conference USA Football Kickoff 24 has been announced for July 23rd in Frisco.
Yes, but at a different locale.
Where has it been? Has it been at the Star?
It's been at the Star, and actually last 2 years, it was at Globe Life Park over in Arlington.
Okay.
But this year they're moving it over to PGA National, or home of the PGA of America, in Frisco. So a really nice place there.
Now, what is that? Are you familiar with that? What
I am not. And,
is it a golf course? Is it a?
I'm looking right now at the picture that you've seen, and it is the big office building that is the home of the PGA. And I'm sure, and because this event, it's not only, it's different from folks here are really familiar with SEC Media Days that, goes on all week. But this is all done in one day. It's very boiled down. You do have the opportunity for a press conference type setting, but it is geared more toward the one-on-ones, and it's also a big TV show that goes on all day, and it will be on ESPN Plus where you have a studio crew basically that will interview the coach and players from each school, and that's a 15 to 30 minute window for each school. So when you look at that, that's a 5 hour deal plus talking to the commissioner, things like that. So that goes on, and then it's more broken down into smaller groups, kind of almost speed dating, where they have it set up with smaller tables, and coaches go from table to table and meet with reporters, and then it's very flexible in the sense that a lot of one-on-ones are taking place, in particular with local media. There's maybe a couple of radio shows that are there, but it is a very intense one-day event, and this year looks like a fabulous spot. And I'm sure that the PGA has whether I bet there's some golf holes around that building for sure. Whether it's a full course or not, I bet you could chip and putt out behind the building somewhere.
You'd like to think you could chip and putt, if not drive somewhere. But Nick Vadiato will be going representing the Blue Raiders on offense. Brendan Harris and former Brentwood Academy standout Devin Curtis will be your defensive players that will represent the Blue Raiders out there, along with obviously Coach Mason. So
and Coach Mason has talked about all those guys at the stops last week, and Devin Curtis and Nick Vadiato are guys that he has inherited and embraced. And he talked last week. I can't remember which stop it was. He goes, I saw a lot of film on, and in particular Nick Vadiato, because when you start with a quarterback and see where you go from there. And he goes, he's been in the spread, but he goes, I was curious how much football he knew. He goes, I sat down with him one time and he blew me away. And for you guys who've been around Nick, his press conferences, when he comes and speaks at a press conference and starts breaking things down, it's like a PGA golfer going back through his round. Maybe this is why we're at PGA of America, but he is or like Aaron Rodgers going through again. He's like a pro quarterback when he goes back and starts evaluating and how things happen throughout a game. He's pretty uncanny in his ability to do that.
Chip, I wanted to ask you kind of while we're going down this semi state of the conference, if you will, kind of a wormhole. We always see at the SEC media days and really all these leagues kind of a state of the union type speech from the conference and where they sit and maybe where they're going. What does your gut tell you? It seems like there's a lot of optimism about Conference USA, especially with Kennesaw State, I think, is coming in. And so I'm just curious. What do you expect, if anything of note, will we hear maybe in those remarks from Judy McLeod?
Well, I think she obviously she will be have a very positive message on where things are. I don't think there's any question that it was a pretty shocking hit that the league took a couple of years ago when the North Texases and Charlottes and those UABs, who were all pretty natural rivals for Middle, went away. And there was probably in my opinion, there was, and you guys can agree or not, but there was a couple of weeks there where I was concerned if the league was going to make it or not. And
absolutely.
And I think what ended up happening is the flirtations that the MAC had with Middle and Western, and Middle in particular reaffirming its relationship with Conference USA, and Western doing that. I think that saved Conference USA for the moment. And then they've done a pretty nice job when you look at at face value. New Mexico State was kind of a known quantity that we had seen before. Liberty is obviously, just kind of go back and look at the Learfield Directors Cup standings and see where Liberty is going to roll in there. Jack State has not taking a back seat to anybody on anything. Obviously, everybody has sports they're going to get better at. Sam Houston the same way. So those, I think, have turned out all to be probably pleasant surprises to some people who were not quite as familiar with them as they might have been other schools. But, Kennesaw is a school that has really had success, in particular in baseball. But, they're still fairly new to the football thing and have played basketball for a long time. So they kind of fit in the mix. And then I'm really excited next year when you bring Delaware and Missouri State in, and those are not upstarts by any stretch of any imagination in any sport, because you think about how good Delaware historically, with Tubby Raymond and the wing T offense in football, they invented it, and they've been and they're going to come in probably outside of Liberty as the most financially endowed program, athletic program in the conference, because they are the land grant university for the state of Delaware. And Missouri State, I mean, they've got College World Series experience, women's Final Four. They've been a 1AA program in football that has had to deal in that Missouri Valley Football League that includes the North Dakota States and Northern Iowas of the world and all of that. So in that they're in a town, in a city that kind of reminds me a whole lot of, say, Louisiana Lafayette. They're kind of an outpost in their state, which gives them really a very strong identity. They have good local support, and the Hammonds family pumped a lot of money into that place. They've got one of the best basketball arenas I've ever been in. And they play in a minor league ballpark that they built for themselves that the Cardinals also play in. And they have plans to update their football facility. So I think Judy will hit on all of those points this or next month. And the basketball tournament, I think, was turned out to be a really good stroke around the league, in particular, those of us close by here, Western, and, those who made it drivable, and Huntsville did a great job of hosting that. So I think there's a lot of good things going. You had multiple teams going to the NCAA baseball regionals. So there's a lot of good things happening there. But obviously you have to address what's going on with the House settlement. How is that going to affect Group of 5 schools? And that is above my pay grade to this point. I don't have a good feel for how all that goes, but it's something that everybody's concerned about. And of course, the ongoing transfer portal and NIL situations across the board. So those topics, while they're not the sizzle on the field type of things, they are important to where the future lies for the league and college athletics in particular.
Do you expect Judy to mention Delaware alum Jeff Pearlman at any point?
That I have no idea. I'm sure
that was not the alum I thought you were going to shout out, by the way.
There must be a backstory there that I'm not aware of. So
no, just former Tennessean alum Jeff Pearlman as well, among other things. Yeah. Chip, as we talk about the Conference USA roster, I'm not sure what media markets and media outlets and that kind of thing mean anymore, but getting into the Atlanta area with Kennesaw State, what is the significance of that?
Well, I don't think it can't hurt for sure. And you think about that whole where Missouri State comes in, you've got the Springfield, kind of Fayetteville, Branson, Arkansas, Missouri area there in Northwest Arkansas, Southwest Missouri. And then Delaware gives you a whole different area in that, East Coast corridor right there. So all of those are pluses. And I can tell you this, that one of the things that worked out in the league's favor was the move to play midweek football games in October last year, which we've talked all about it. I'd much rather play midweek in October in Conference USA cities than midweek in November in Mid-American Conference cities. And the television audiences on average for Conference USA midweek games were typically about 3 times what they normally were on Saturdays on in the same windows. So
3 times?
So that's what I was told. And so there's something to be said for being the only show in town on those nights, on those Tuesdays and Wednesdays and the scattered Thursdays in there. And I think the coaches kind of fought back a little bit last year because there were some really tough turnarounds, and I think the league has hopefully invested time and effort into making those turnarounds not quite as painful. I know Middle has 1 6-day turnaround instead of 7, but outside of that, that's really the toughest one.
Chip Walters, the Blue Raider voice, joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Chip, you mentioned the transfer portal as something that everybody is concerned with and needs addressing and that kind of thing. I don't know that we think about the transfer portal as it relates to tennis and golf, but apparently Middle Tennessee State has had some activity with said athletes.
They have. And, Middle lost a couple of guys in men's tennis to the transfer portal a year ago. And women's tennis picked up a player from Southern Miss who has won 11 singles and 12 doubles matches in the 2 short seasons. So she is a Malaysian native who has been very good and was on the dean's list at Southern Miss. On the men's tennis side, they picked up 3 out of the portal, and all coming from very good tennis schools. The 3 are Rodoslav Halfinger, who comes from South Alabama, who back in the Conference or the Sun Belt days, Middle and South Alabama and Louisiana Lafayette were all just battling year in, year out for supremacy in men's tennis. So he's a native of Germany. Sasha Grand Vincent, who is from France, comes from Louisiana Lafayette. And then Gabe Getz, who's a local product, he'll come in as a freshman from Macaulay. And he was the number 1 ranked high school, or Macaulay was the UTR number 1 ranked high school in the country. And he won the USTA Tennessee Sportsmanship Award as well as being very good on the court. So Jimmy Borendame reloads, getting ready for next year, trying to, get over to the other hand after having 5 conference championships in a row. And then on top of that, you've got you have men's golf, who has signed a transfer from Union, J.J. Zimmer. He is a Jackson, Tennessee native, went to Crockett County High School, and he fired a sizzling 59 at Humboldt Golf and Country Club. 59 seems to be a famous score in West Tennessee, whether it's pro or in this case high school or college. But he won the state championship in high school in 2019 and has played for Union and has been outstanding for them in his career.
As a former Lambeth student, I hate anytime we use union and outstanding in the same phrase, but I will just tell you that I would take a 59 for 9. So
exactly. You and me both. You and me both.
Before we let you go, not tomorrow night, Thursday night, First Horizon Park.
That's correct.
Night. You
it
going?
Is. That's my plan. I plan on being there on Thursday night. I've gone the last several nights or several years for this event. Really a lot of fun, and and there's always a ton of middle people there, and they will be number one. If you go to mtalumni.com, that's mtalumni.com. There's a you'll see the story. Click on that, and it'll take you to the portal where you can get discounted tickets in the MTSU section at First Horizon Park. And it looks like the weather, I think Wednesday is supposed to is going to be coming through, but then through Thursday, Friday, Saturday are going to be really good. And hopefully we can get in there and get to the game before the big CMA crowds roll in here on Friday. But there's that, and also they're going to be. I think the Sounds are wearing the patriotic jerseys, or there are some jerseys that are going to be auctioned off. The Sounds patriotic jersey that has the N with the filled with the flag. Anyway, it's going to be auctioned off, and the proceeds will be going to the Charlie and Hazel Daniels Veterans and Military Family Center at MTSU. So there's one more reason to go and take part.
Awesome. By the way, we will be broadcasting live from First Horizon Park on Friday from 2 to 4. So be sure and check that out. The scenery will be even nicer than usual. But,
will you
Chip,
be hanging out late, hanging after the show?
Possibly.
Okay.
Have not decided yet. Might just make a night of it, long as we're there. So we'll see how that goes. But Chip, we appreciate it as always, and might see you Thursday. Definitely, we'll see you next Tuesday.
There you go. See
all
you,
right.
boys. See you, Wade.
Thank you, Chip.
All right, bye.
When we return to Main Street Sports Today, presented by TOA of Columbia, it's the grab bag. Come back to the Lee Company studios and see what we pull out after this.
Are you the biggest race fan? Main Street Media and Rackley Roofing are teaming up to send a family of 4 to the Rackley Roofing 200 truck race at the National Super Speedway on June 28th. All you have to do is head to your favorite Main Street Media site and click on the Rackley banner to win.
Top 5 Tuesday continues here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by TOA of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton. That's Wade Neely. The first weekend of the Men's College World Series wrapped up this weekend. Yesterday, I guess it wasn't this weekend, it was Monday, because a number of those tournaments leaked over with if games. And when the smoke cleared, 5 of your 16 teams advancing to the Super Regionals this coming weekend come out of the Southeastern Conference. Your defending national champion, Louisiana State, is not among them. Knocked off last night by host North Carolina. So Tennessee, Kentucky, Georgia, Texas A&M, and Florida advance to Super Regional action this coming weekend, and Tennessee will play Friday, Saturday, Sunday at Lindsey Nelson Stadium against Evansville, as we discussed yesterday with Caleb Giroux. So
yeah, it'll be an interesting series, just in the sense maybe that's where you're going, but Caleb kind of surmised it. I mean, if Tennessee wins, yeah, I mean, they're supposed to win, obviously. If for some reason this thing goes awry, that's a really bad situation. So on one hand, you're set up very nicely. In theory, maybe get 2 relatively easy wins and kind of just coast into Omaha. But if things somehow get it all shaky, that's the only downside about taking on the spunky 4 seed, I suppose.
To whom much is given, much is expected, right? So
Yep.
it's a tough situation for UT there. Again, we talked about Evansville coming out of the Greenville Regional, knocking off East Carolina, and surviving that. So, upsetting the number 1 over there. So now you've got a number 14 with nothing to lose, as Caleb pointed out, coming into Knoxville. But yeah, I just enjoy this time of year when college baseball really kind of gets its opportunity to kind of get on the main burner for a few weeks, and it's great baseball.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see who survives, because it also feels like every year there's a couple teams. See a few get plucked off in the regionals, but it seems like there's at least 1, maybe 2 upsets every year in the supers as well.
Yeah. Meanwhile, in the Women's College World Series, as we spoke with Eric Henry earlier in the show, Texas is sitting, waiting on either Florida or Oklahoma. Right now, Florida leads on bottom of the 6th. So, as Wade and I have talked, Oklahoma, the national dynasty, having won 3 consecutive national championships, and what, 6 since 2013, I think it was.
Something like that. Yeah, they've been dominant, to say the least.
Yeah. So this would be a bit of an upset if the Gators are able to hang on to this one run lead a little longer here. So that'll be worth keeping an eye on.
Speaking of which, Mo, we mentioned Tennessee obviously is the prohibitive favorite versus Evansville. You're wondering how big of a favorite. You got to wager $1,400 to win 100 if you want to bet on the Vols. For comparison's sake, the next biggest favorite is Texas A&M, you got to wager $320 to win 100. So Tennessee is basically a 14-1 favorite to win this weekend. On the other hand, if you're an entrepreneurial person, or if you're a former San Diego Padres player looking for some action, Evansville is $100 will net you $900. So a chance to maybe make some bucks. Maybe you would have a better winning percentage than 4.5%.
He's got to make some bucks somewhere. Meanwhile, Oklahoma just tied Florida. It's 5-5 now. Yeah. So some high drama going on here in Oklahoma City. We have been waiting on the NBA Finals, Wade. What do we got? Two more sleeps now before Dallas and Boston start things up on Thursday night.
Yeah, it's going to be. I think it's going to be a fun series. And I was reading through kind of a couple think pieces about this thing earlier today. Feels like the road teams are going to make some hay. I think it's going to end up being a pretty competitive series. I know Boston is really good, and a lot of folks are quote unquote sleeping on them because they've kind of just cakewalked their way to these NBA Finals. But Dallas, the interesting thing about Dallas, Mo, is they tanked last year. They basically threw away the last 2 weeks of the regular season. They were in the playoff discussion and said, no, we're good. We just want to go ahead and get a better draft pick and work on things for next year. And then even this year, they were kind of just ho-hum, but somewhere just beyond the All-Star break, maybe around mid-March, they've just been playing at a totally different level, and that's why they've been able to make it all the way to the finals. So I think we're in for a good series. Looking forward to seeing Luka and Kyrie. If any other role players step up for Dallas, I think we're really in store for something special. And it's going to be a fun one kicking off Thursday.
And again, Dallas coming in as the number 5 seed out of the West.
Yeah, and I think they would have probably finished if they were playing right the way they are now and the way they did the last 2 months of the regular season. They would have been a much higher seed. That just kind of speaks to how kind of ho-hum they were. A lot of folks had distanced themselves from Kyrie for off the court issues the last couple of seasons, but then maybe even last year, his kind of on court performance, you're just kind of scratching your head saying, is he ever going to get back to where he really was? And that kind of bled over for the first couple months of this year. But since March, him and Luka have been as devastating a 1-2 punch as much as you would think when you sign a guy like Kyrie to be your backcourt mate with Luka. They have delivered. So I'm looking forward to Thursday. Game 2 would be Sunday. They space them out a little more. Game 3 Wednesday, and then Game 4 is next Friday. So we got some hoops coming up beginning Thursday night at 7:30.
I think it was really interesting. I saw something here in the last day or so, maybe earlier this morning, a reflective Kyrie Irving heading back to Boston. He made some comments. I wasn't my best self when I was here, I think, or something to that effect. I'm trying to find it. I will say last time in Boston, I don't think that was the best. That wasn't a great reflection of who I am and how I like to compete at a high level. Wasn't a great reflection on my end toward the next generation. I think he's talking specifically about the last time he played in Boston, but we're still human at the end of the day. I wasn't my best self during that time. When I look back at it, I just see it as a time where I learned how to let go of things and learn how to talk through my emotions. Talking about his tenure in Boston. So, it's ideally we all kind of grow up a little bit over time. And it sounds like maybe Kyrie has a little bit, probably need it too, but at the same time, I'm sure he's pretty well prepared for what's coming when he goes back.
Yeah, I think so. And the other interesting aspect of this is you got Tatum, who's right on the precipice of really, really establishing himself as one of the top, 2, 3, 4 guys in the league. He's certainly in that conversation, but he would no doubt secure that with this finals if he were able to do so. But he played with Kyrie for those first 2 years in his career, so they kind of have some familiarity, have somewhat of a past. So I think it's going to be, there's several storylines and kind of subplots in this series, which I think is going to be outstanding in addition to the stuff we see on the court.
On the ice, we're down to 2. Edmonton goes to Florida for game 1 of the Stanley Cup final Saturday. Thoughts, Mr. Neely?
First thought immediately is, 2 thoughts. First thought is, number one, don't take away my USA livelihood, but I'm excited to see a team from Canada, with the chance to finally hoist the cup for the first time in ages. And then number 2 is, if you're a sports writer that remotely covers hockey, you're pretty much contractually obligated to mention that this is the furthest distance that is basically humanly possible between Edmonton and Miami, basically. So, like I said, if you remotely cover hockey, you've been forced to write that tweet over the last, 48 hours, because it seems like everybody's mentioned it. But if you're taking those flights and they're on the company dime, hey, you get a really nice stash of frequent flyer miles.
Hashtag frequent flyer miles. They are mounting up for anybody that's covering this series for sure. From Edmonton, Alberta to, what is it, Sunrise, Florida?
I think that's right. And so game 1 will be Saturday. Games 1 and 2 will be Saturday, Monday. So they stay with the every other day. They do build in a little travel. So games 3 and 4 up in Edmonton are not till Thursday, Saturday of next week. So well-deserved break after just an insane distance. And that's after, by the way, Edmonton to Dallas is not exactly a short trip in terms of the Western Conference Finals as well. I know, New York to Florida that's tolerable, but Edmonton to Dallas is a pretty lengthy flight for an in-conference series there.
Edmonton is on mountain time, it appears. So it's only a 3-hour time difference for them to Florida. So it could be worse. But yeah, like you said, that distance is not short. So, get your rest, guys, both Panthers and Oilers. Wade, I think we've got time to delve into this, so let's delve into this. You are probably up to date by now that you've kind of recovered from your trip to Lexington. Where do you stand on this Kennedy Carter, Caitlin Clark situation from Saturday's Sky Fever game?
That's a good question. And speaking of contractually obligated, if you are any sort of media entity in the world, you're contractually obligated to not only discuss but have an opinion on this. So we've reached that point. My thought is not shocked, but in the sense that, hey, she comes in as the superstar. They're going to be gunning for her. I mean, was it potentially a dirty, or was it a dirty play? I think, yeah, but in the grand scheme of things, I don't really feel the need to really have these super deep think pieces and things of that nature on it. At the end of the day, it's a game. And if it was the Aces and they did that against her, I wouldn't be necessarily proud, but I'd say, hey, that's my girls. That's what we do. We play tough against teams and try and win the game. So I'd be sticking up for my team. So I've kind of backed out in the sense of trying to really, blow this up into some societal or social framework. But I think she's going to I think in a weird way, and I can't remember if she's already addressed this or not. I think in a way, deep down, Caitlin Clark likes this kind of ruggedness that she's getting bumped up again, because it kind of furthers her opinion, hey, I'm her, I've kind of arrived and I'm getting it. She is not running away from it. It feels like everybody else around her is mentioning things and having an opinion one way or the other, but it seems like deep down she's embracing it and saying, hey, this is how it's supposed to be. And she's next man up, next game up type situation.
I think you are 100%. And I think for everything, I think that's a great point that you make, that for everything that's being said around her, she's not.
Doesn't feel like it. Not that I've seen.
So, but I think that as long as the rest of the WNBA has to hear about Caitlin Clark being their savior or something to that effect, this type thing may continue to take place. Because I think that I don't think there's any way around the fact that there's probably a little bit of resentment for hearing that. So, but I think you're right, and I think to her credit, she's taking it and moving on. So,
and I think and that's been the fascinating thing to me, is that she really has not spent a lot of time going into it now. And like I kind of touched on there, and you make a great point. Whether the other teams or other players are admitting it openly, some are, flirting with openly kind of admitting some resentment there. Every game, there's going to be situations. Does that verge on the gamesmanship type end of the spectrum, or is there potentially, a tiny bit of resentment / malice in there? But I think you're going to expect to see the gamesmanship, hard fouls, all that stuff. I think that's probably going to continue. Hopefully, fingers crossed, we don't end up in a situation where this thing really gets wild and there's a brawl or anything of that nature. I don't foresee that happening, but if nothing else, here we sit. I know there's not a lot of other sports going on right now, but everybody is talking about the WNBA right now.
Yeah, the point that you made yesterday about the screens in Lexington being on the ball game, different things like that. And the 12th player on the bench doesn't get this kind of treatment. So there's that. Let's go to our final break. And when we come back, it is Top 5 Tuesday. Wade and I will give you our top 5 athletes we wish we had been able to see. So stay tuned when we come back to the Lee Company Studios with Main Street Sports Today after this.
Nashville Super Speedway.
That's right, guitars and fast cars right here in Music City. This summer, NASCAR is back at the Nashville Super Speedway. Get your tickets now to watch your favorite driver take on the 1.33 miles of concrete chaos. Visit NashvilleSuperspeedway.com to lock in your spot June 28th through the 30th. for the Ally 400 race weekend.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com. Top 5 Tuesday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by TOA of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton. That's Wade Neely. This is the final segment of the day, and we will be giving you our top athletes we wish we'd seen. This germinated, Wade, if you were wondering where this came from. Somewhere on Facebook, somebody had some Gale Sayers clips up here in the last little bit, and it was amazing to watch. And I love watching those athletes that predated me in some of their exploits. And that was what made me think about this. And so that's where the idea came from. So with that in mind, the floor is yours.
Well, let's get this party started. When I thought about this list, immediately one person jumped to my mind, and Wilt Chamberlain, without a doubt, has got to be the guy that I would want to see the most. I was running through some stats earlier for this guy, and just the numbers are freaky as is, but somebody has even gone so far as to modernize, if you will, the stats. And basically, if you adjust for pace of play and things like that, his numbers are even crazier now than they already were back then. So Wilt Chamberlain, just if nothing else, the mythology for a variety of reasons of Wilt Chamberlain.
The numbers.
Something I would have liked to see. Yes, well said. Yeah. It's all about the numbers.
The numbers, absolutely. I'm going to throw some numbers at you. 11 NBA championships for Wilt Chamberlain's contemporary, Bill Russell. That's my guy that I would like to have seen play.
It's only fitting.
Yeah, exactly. So your turn.
Number 2 for me. This is a lot of these lists are kind of fun to go down for me because kind of real throwbacks. But how about Jim Thorpe back in the day? I mean, this was a guy obviously never he got even close to seeing him. He passed away in 1953. Right. But just even growing up as a kid, you know, we played a lot of different sports. And specialization was not a thing back then. And just hearing about a guy that was that good at so many different sports was great at all of them really appealed to me. So Jim Thorpe, the old school OG multi-sport athlete.
That's nice. That's a nice one. I'm going to try to stay in the multi-sport realm to some degree.
I see where you're going with this.
Obviously, he stuck to football, but was also apparently one heck of a lacrosse player, if you can believe this, during his college days at Syracuse. Jim Brown. And the name just kind of speaks for itself. And the short time that he spent in the NFL, short but highly productive. So
all you need to know, Jim Brown led the Browns to a championship. I mean,
there you
what
go.
else? What else do you really need to say? That alone is enough. Worthy
There
of
you go.
seeing, some would
That
say.
pretty well does it. Yeah. You're number 3.
Number 3 up for me. He's been on a list or two of mine, but I still got to go with my guy Muhammad Ali because I've had him on lists for other reasons. Kind of his notoriety and his causes off out of the ring. But I just want to see because, I mean, he was the standard and was called the greatest, and is still regarded by some as the greatest of all time. So give me Muhammad Ali as a fight fan. Back when boxing was like really, really, really a huge deal, it would have been fun to see the guy that they refer to as the greatest.
I came in on the tail end of Muhammad Ali. So that's the first one that, I saw that you didn't. But yeah, I would love to have seen him earlier when he was younger, when he was really all that. But my number 3, I'm going to go back to the guy who started this, Gale Sayers. Guy scored 6 touchdowns in a game against the 49ers on a muddy field, and you can go YouTube the highlights, and it's just like everybody else is on a muddy field and he's on asphalt or whatever. I mean, he was just amazing to watch. Again, you saw the clips. I would love to have seen him in real time. So that's my number 3, Gale Sayers.
Man, solid pick, and you're right. Feels like he's kind of somehow still slept on, but man. Up next for me, we'll breeze through these here. Joe Montana for me has got to be on the list because I just want to know if the hype was really that real. I would love to have been able to go back in time and boo him at Notre Dame, and then now knowing what I know about Peyton and Tom and Drew Brees and those guys, I'd like to know if he was as good as those guys.
It's a heck of a question. It depends on who you ask, and I am kind of biased by his Notre Dame background, so it's tough for me to really be objective about it. My number 4 is Bob Gibson. Being the baseball guy that I am, would love to have seen him. They lowered the mound after this guy put up a 1.12 ERA in 1968. Ooh. And some of the numbers again surrounding him as a pitcher were just incredible, and I would love to have seen him back in his heyday. Your number 5?
Last for me, but certainly not least, take it back. I'd love to be around for Secretariat, specifically back in '73, winning the Triple Crown, and for the next 40 years, I mean, still to this day, even though there's been Triple Crown winners since then, it feels like Secretariat still by and large is the gold standard. So I'd have loved to have been able to see that as well.
My number 5, and it's influenced by the fact that I came across Pat XO on a 30 for 30 a couple of nights ago on ESPN. I would love to have seen Pat Head, the player.
Ooh.
She played in the 76 Olympics. I don't remember it. And I would, during part of the interviews, Tyler was asking her if she could have played for her. And I just thought that was a really neat question. But Pat Head Summit, the player, I would love to have seen. That's Top 5 Tuesday, brought to you by Mid-South 5 Fitness, 2 great locations, one in Franklin, one in Columbia. Dallas Steel, you can find them at steelathletes.com. That's going to do it for today's Top 5 Tuesday edition of Main Street Sports Today. Come back tomorrow. We will have Heather Williams and Landon Sechrist joining us. We'll see you at 2 o'clock.